Hey everybody, so in today's episode, we're going to talk about the 4 most important things that you can do to ensure that you're going to be able to clear to close in 15 days or less. So let's go. So the very first, number 1 thing that you can do is be an active client. And what I mean by being an active client is that you have to be willing to coordinate and correspond and communicate with your loan officer. If you don't communicate with your loan officer and be transparent and honest with them, then they have no idea what's going on. For example, let's say there's some life situations happening and you're not going to be in town for settlement, but you forgot to tell the loan officer, and then they schedule the settlement when you're not in town. And then you blew up at the loan officer because you said, "Hey, how did you not know? And why would you schedule the settlement when I'm not going to be in town? I'm actually going to be traveling. I'm going to be doing a business travel. Oh, my wife is not going to be here. Or my husband's not going to be here because they're traveling. Why would you schedule it at that time?" We would not know unless you were an active client. So many times, if the client was able to be proactive and communicate with us, then we could have done what's called a power of attorney for the spouse or the significant other so that somebody else can sign on their behalf. Let's say both co-borrowers or both borrowers are out of town. They could give the power of attorney, let's say, to their daughter, to their sister, to somebody who's going to be able to sign for them. But we need the client. We need you to be active and communicate with us. And that includes the second most important thing, which is providing all documents in the beginning of the process. Now, I'll provide a link right above this for the list of documents that you will need either for a refinance or for a purchase, but providing all the documents that's necessary at the very beginning of the process is going to ensure you that you can clear to close in 15 days or less. Sometimes if the client is able to provide everything, including the homeowners association document, which notorious to take a long time, we've had instances where we were able to clear to close in about 2 to 3 days from the registration, from when the disclosures and the loan estimate went out to the borrower. I mean, that would be amazing. So then I had one client, we were able to get a conditional approval within an hour, and then a clear to close basically in 3 days once the waiting period happened. And we were waiting for settlement to happen on a Saturday. So in about 6-7 days, we were done with the file. The client was already done. I mean, it could be so fast in the loan process if the borrower provides all the documents at the beginning of the process. Now, sometimes there are certain loan officers that want to make it feel like it's too easy of a process where you don't have to do any work, where the client doesn't have to do any work. That's false. Okay, don't believe that. Run away. Go find another loan officer that actually will share with you the entire process of this. And it does require work. I mean, think about it. The lender is going to be lending you hundreds of thousands of dollars, sometimes millions of dollars. They need to verify and make sure they've done their risk assessment on you as a borrower before they can lend you that money. So none of the mortgage processes is where you don't require any documents and any verification. There's a reason why there's a manual underwriting process where human eyes are looking at the documents, verifying and making sure your income is there, your assets there, your mortgage statement is there, there's no foreclosures or liens or delinquencies or anything on your credit report. There's a reason why we go through this process. So make sure you provide all the documents required at the beginning of the loan process. Now, number 3 is wait till you make any big life changes. And what I mean by that is, let's say I had a client where they hated their job and they were planning to leave their job right when they started to look for a home and they're about to put an offer in. They said, "Hey, Chris, actually, I hate my job. I want to leave. I want to, go somewhere else." I said, "Look, you have to suck it up. We're already in the offer stage. We're going to go through your process. We're going to be done with this in less than 30 days. So just suck it up for another 30 days, go into your home, and then afterwards put in your resignation and then go to the new job that you already found." And so they actually followed my directions and they went to a beautiful home, and then we were able to actually clear to close them in about 8 days. And we were waiting for the seller to move out of their house because we were moving a little bit too quickly. But wait till you make any big life changes like changing your job. because that's going to basically change the way we have to look at the file, and then we got to re-verify employment, get an offer letter, and all that stuff. Now, if you're doing a jumbo loan, that's a little different. If you have a jumbo loan, then you can just get the offer letter and we'll do a verification employment. And there's different guidelines associated with it. But for a conventional loan, just wait until you make those big life changes. Now, number 4, don't make any big purchases during the loan process until the loan is done. I can't stress this enough. I've had too many instances in the very beginning where I didn't stress this, and I've had clients go buy a car during the process. Go open a new credit card because they were having a little too much fun, let's say during their birthday, and they want to buy themselves something really nice, and they opened up a department store card. Don't do any of that. Don't open new trade lines, no credit lines. Don't buy a new car. Don't buy a boat. Okay, don't buy a house. And you laugh, but I had a client who we said, don't buy anything, no new large purchases. They had a little bit of an addiction to buying things like nice cars and stuff like that. And when we were getting close to closing on their new home, the underwriter said, hey, we noticed that there's a new property under their name. What's going on? So we called the client. Client said, oh yeah, I forgot to tell you, I really want to buy this house, so I just bought it in cash. We were like, are you serious? That's still there's property taxes and obligations associated with owning a home, and the client didn't bother to mention it to us. And so again, it threw a big wrench into the process, and it delayed the whole transaction. We were able to get it fixed and work out the DTI and the ratios and stuff. But again, it kind of goes back with the first thing we said about being an active client, proactively communicating with your loan officer. Also, don't buy any large purchase. And if you do, let's say your car does break down and you need to replace it. I had a client where that actually happened, and they needed to buy a new car because one was breaking down. They were proactive and they communicated to me, and so I was able to notify the underwriter and say, hey, they're going through this. We're gonna have to then get the financing agreement or whatever, because they were financing the car, provide it to the underwriter, and then we were able to proactively kind of get ahead of it so there's no surprises, and we were still able to close them relatively quickly. All right, so those are the 4 things, the most important things I think that you should be aware of and you can do so that you ensure that you can have a clear to close in 15 days or less. So let me know in the comment below what questions you have about the refinancing process or the home purchasing process. Maybe you're a first-time home buyer and there's a bunch of questions that you have that maybe I've already answered in a different video, or I can answer below. So let me know, comment below, click subscribe and like. Thanks.